The Biden administration is streamlining the visa application process for Afghans who aided the U.S. war efforts. The Department of Homeland Security says that beginning Wednesday, it will remove one application step from the special immigration visa so that applicants only have to go through one government agency. Senior administration officials say the change could reduce processing times by about a month. Joining us now for more on this is CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez. Camilo, how exactly will this new streamline process impact these applicants who've helped the U.S.?
Hi, John. The special immigrant visa program has been plagued by chronic delays for years now under both Republican and Democratic administrations. And one of the main reasons for these chronic delays is that applicants have been historically required to submit different applications with different government agencies across the federal government here in the U.S. With this announcement today, the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security are now saying that starting on July 20th, applicants will only need to go through one agency, that being the Department of State, so they can complete this process. It will remove one application step from this 14-step process, and officials hope that this will reduce processing and adjudication timeframes. What is very critical to note, John, is that we have about more than 70,000 Afghans currently in the pipeline for a special immigrant visa. About 10,000 of those Afghans are in the final stages of that application process. But it is very important to note, John, that these numbers do not include their spouses and children who are also eligible to come here to the U.S. and to secure permanent status here if their cases are approved.
So what then happens to those other Afghans? Not directly involved in the war efforts.
It's a good question because, sure, that's a good question. The U.S., as you know, John, last year evacuated tens of thousands of Afghans and resettled them here in the U.S. following the sudden collapse of the Afghan government. Most of those Afghans, John, did not come with approved immigration applications. U.S. officials used an emergency humanitarian authority known as parole to admit them to the country. DHS statistics show that about 36,000 of these Afghans are indeed eligible for special immigrant visas, but we also know, John, that another 36,000 do not have a clear, direct pathway to U.S. citizenship or permanent status, and unless Congress legalizes them or they're able to find another way to get U.S. citizenship, like asylum, they will remain in legal limbo, John.
All right, I want to come back to that, but for now, let's switch topics. You've reported that apprehensions of migrants who crossed the U.S.-Mexico border illegally last month set a record for any June for which there's available data. Can you break down those numbers for us?
That's right. While there was a significant 14% decrease in apprehensions from May and June, these new statistics show that border officials so far have now processed migrants over 1.7 million times this fiscal year. That is a tally, John, that surpasses the record set last year, and we, as you know, have 3 months left until the new fiscal year 2023 starts in October. So these are very unprecedented levels of migration that we're seeing at the U.S.-Mexico border. We know that there was a decrease in arrivals from certain nationalities, but we're still seeing very high levels of migration from countries outside of Mexico and Central America. These are countries like Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, where the U.S. has a very difficult time returning individuals because of the strained diplomatic relationships with the governments there. It's also important to note that just under 50% of the individuals encountered in June along the U.S.-Mexico border, John, were quickly expelled to Mexico or to their home country under Title 42. This is the public health authority dating back to the Trump administration that a federal court has required the Biden administration to maintain, and Title 42 does not allow those individuals to request asylum.
So, and Camilo, just remind people, even though there was a 14% drop of migrants from May, remind people why the numbers remain so high.
Well, John, if you ask politicians, they're going to give you different answers. Republican lawmakers say that Biden administration policies are solely responsible for this unprecedented level of migration to the U.S.-Mexico border. They believe the administration should reinstate Trump-era border policies, such as the Remain in Mexico program that requires migrants to wait outside of the U.S. for their asylum hearings. But the Biden administration argues that this record border arrival surge is partly driven and is part of a broader displacement crisis in the Western Hemisphere driven by economic instability, violence, corruption, extreme hunger, and other factors such as political repression in some parts of Latin America. I think both of these arguments have their flaws, and I think the reality is more complicated, John. Undisputedly, there has been a lot of negative economic impact caused by the pandemic in these countries. We know that there is extreme poverty and hunger in parts of Latin America and countries like Haiti. You also have political repression in countries like Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. But the truth of the matter is, John, that we also have unmet labor demands here in the U.S. that attract workers. We know that smugglers have also been telling migrants that they have a better chance of staying in the U.S. under President Biden, that he has more quote-unquote welcoming policies. And we also have an asylum system that is massively backlogged and that fails to adjudicate applications in a timely manner. And experts believe that that encourages some people who won't qualify for asylum to use that system to stay and work here in the U.S. So there are several factors, I think, John, that contribute to this unprecedented migration episode that we're seeing right now.
Complex, but well explained. Thank you, Camilo Montoya-Galvez.